Puts me so much trouble, it's not my fault. All this I also lose my friends, I lost my baby. That is looking crack only today. Want to change, he wanted so they couldn't try more like to feel. I'd kill the real, take your life in a second. The table drinks coffee in my kitchen, I mentioned eating every song, I just wanted to go away. You decide to stay in the well. I want to be forgiven, I don't like this kid for money. Sorry I was scared, you're not the way it feels. Like to sleep with it for someone to come in and kill you. The final thing is that now I'm not afraid of anything. Cause they're gonna kill anyone that feels so powerful. They try by you every new skin of everything is confusing. You will be good, but you will be more. You will be good, but you will be more. You will be good, but you will be more. Alone every day, it is a praise of pleasure.
Good morning and welcome to Dynasty 365, where the film will set you free. Today we're only going to be going over the NFL news. I was hoping to have some more player breakdowns done ahead of time to avoid situations like this, but I simply haven't had the time to do a full breakdown today. That will be fixed in the future. I don't like only doing the news, but there has been more news today than normal, so I guess you'll just have to wait till tomorrow. Tight end Eric Swoop was signed by the Raiders today to a 1-year contract. He was, of course, formerly of the Colts and actually has a decent chance to see the field based on their less than stellar tight end group of Derek Carrier, Luke Wilson, Foster Moreau, and Darren Waller. I honestly don't expect any of these tight ends to be fantasy relevant this year, but it is a name to keep an eye on during the preseason. There's a report that the Cowboys are going to end up agreeing to a contract extension with Ezekiel Elliott that would make him the highest paid running back in history. As I mentioned yesterday, his history of poor off-the-field decisions would have me as a GM not sign him to such a deal. But I'm not a general manager, and I don't have that power, so we'll just have to let the Cowboys make a mistake on this one. The Cowboys do have both Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper on expiring contracts, so I doubt that anything gets done sometime soon, and that is just speculation from a source. Aaron Rodgers said he's going to be more creative in the new offense of the Green Bay Packers, which is virtually a guarantee, as Mike McCarthy absolutely sucked as a head coach. When you can't figure out that you need to use Aaron Jones more after 9 games and then you lose to the Cardinals, you deserve to be fired. Pete Carroll said that wide receiver Amara Darboh looked great after the start of OTAs. This is just a piece of evidence that Pete Carroll is full of shit. Apparently every single player on his team is always the best fucking player on planet Earth. Darboh sucks. He's not going to do anything. Completely disregard this news. Nick Bosa already suffered his first injury and hurt his hamstring on the second day of OTAs. If you're in an IDP league, you should have been well aware of Joey Bosa's injury concerns, but I'm sure that Nick was overdrafted in pretty much every IDP league there is based on Joey's early success in the NFL. A lot of people completely disregard injury risk when drafting players, which I understand, but when someone that shares 50% of your DNA can't stay healthy, what did you really expect? Staying with the 49ers, defensive tackle Solomon Thomas said that he is mentally healthy and is more confident in his abilities. Solomon said he turned a corner mentally late last season after seeing a therapist. If you need to see a therapist to go hit someone in the fucking face on a football field, you're probably not going to fucking make it. They did say that he dropped weight to a more comfortable 270 pounds, so maybe the weight change has something to improve his production. But based on the position he plays and his lack of production so far in the NFL, I really wouldn't be targeting him in your IDP leagues. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside received reps in the slot at OTAs. He's, of course, the rookie receiver for the Eagles. I would find it very surprising if he did not receive reps in the slot, so I don't really consider this to be much of a news story. If you're looking for a corner in IDP leagues, the Bills' cornerback Levi Wallace is currently the starter opposite Tre'Davious White, and since Tre'Davious White is so good, Wallace will probably be targeted early and often, which leads to IDP production. So it is easy to find secondary players in most IDP leagues, but if you're in a deeper format, it might be worth adding Wallace right now. Delaney Walker, tight end for the Titans, said that he is about 85% recovered from his broken ankle, which is kind of concerning at this point in the year and his advanced age, but as long as he's ready for the start of the season, he should still produce in a Mariota-led offense. Bradley McDougald, the strong safety for the Seahawks, is apparently recovering from a knee surgery and won't be playing until training camp. And I know he was a hot waiver ad and preseason ad in IDP leagues, and he is also 29 years old, so that's definitely something to monitor very closely as we get closer to training camp. The Seahawks middle linebacker Bobby Wagner is at OTAs but not practicing until he gets a new contract. He's not willing to take a hometown discount, which makes sense, but he's also probably not going to get the ridiculous money that was given to middle linebackers this offseason. He will get paid, but it probably won't be the highest paid linebacker in the NFL. In more surprise injury news, second-year linebacker Fred Warner for the 49ers is apparently recovering from a cleanup operation on his knee. He did play well last year, but the Niners signed Quan Alexander, relegating Warner to the weak side linebacker position, which should still be very productive in IDP leagues with that defense. On RotoWorld, they say that he will play the strong side, but I highly doubt that. More evidence that Pete Carroll is full of shit. He said there's a chance that Ziggy Ansah is going to be ready for week 1 and said that Ansah was a big get. Well, Frank Clark is way better than Ansah, so that's just kind of ridiculous. He's also 30 years old and really has not been healthy or very productive his entire career. So if you're in an IDP league and looking for a defensive end, Ansah probably will luck his way into production if he can stay healthy, but it's definitely not looking like it's going to be anytime early in the season. Another D lineman, defensive tackle Jerron Reed for the Seahawks, had off-season hernia surgery and apparently will not return before training camp opens. It's really not very concerning, seeing as he had a 4 to 6 week recovery period anyways, and with how little depth they have on the defensive line, they really can't risk anyone else being injured. He's also been very durable in his career, only missing 2 games. In yet more Seahawks injury news, running back Chris Carson had, now again this is Pete Carroll, so who fucking knows. Apparently he had a little work done on his knee, but is supposed to be back practicing within a few weeks. So we don't know when that happened, we don't know what it was for. He might not have even had surgery because Pete Carroll said it, but he does have some injury concerns already. I'm not too worried about this information, but if you don't see Chris Carson on the field within 3 or 4 weeks, I might consider selling. Matt Breida, running back for the Niners, has a slightly torn pectoral, but apparently will be ready for training camp. Breida has become a magician of miraculously recovering from injuries, but he will break down at some point. I am pretty worried that he has a torn pec already, but he's also projected to be number 3 on the depth chart, so that's more of a non-news story, but I know Breida is still heavily owned. The Broncos' Deshaun Hamilton said that he had a knee injury at the end of last year, which slowed him down. That would kind of make sense because it did seem like he wasn't as athletic as he looked on film in college. But you never know with the transition to the pros. Some guys just look faster in college than in the NFL. But if that is true, that's good for Deshaun Hamilton, especially if Sanders does not return from his Achilles. I do expect Sanders to return from his Achilles in pretty good form, but at 32, he is at a risk for re-injury for sure. Known piece of shit Ndamukong Suh signed a 1-year deal with the Buccaneers. If you're in IDP leagues, you should already know that Suh is really ineffective. At this point in his career, he couldn't put up any numbers or pressure playing alongside Aaron Donald, and he's 33 years old, so if he's still on your IDP rosters, unless you're in a deep league that requires D tackles, you can cut him. It's the second day of OTAs, and I just cannot believe how many injury news reports came out today. But for the Titans, Jonnu Smith, the backup to Delaney Walker at tight end, was sidelined due to his MCL tear from last year. That is actually pretty concerning to me, because I tore my MCL completely, and it did not take very long for it to completely heal. It definitely didn't take 6 months, or however long it's been. Adoree Jackson, the corner for the Titans, also had off-season foot or ankle surgery, so just based on the fact that we don't know which one it was, means no one has any idea what it is yet. It's just something to monitor again if you've got him in an IDP league. Head coach Bill O'Brien of the Houston Texans says that running back D'Onta Foreman is making good progress. So he did tear his Achilles his freshman year and really didn't play and was ineffective last season, but apparently he showed up in good shape for the spring. Just based on the fact that he's looking good and in good shape, if he is on your waiver wire, go pick him up right now, as long as you have a somewhat easy cut to make, because Lamar Miller has not been anything special for 2 years now, and D'Onta Foreman looked really explosive his freshman year. Again, injuries have always been a constant concern with him, so if he did start producing, and I had any other running backs that could help carry my team, I'd trade him as soon as he put up 1 or 2 big games, and tripled or quadrupled his value. For the Bills, it looks like Dawson Knox is going to get playing time early whether he's ready or not, because on Monday Tyler Kroft broke his foot and probably will miss week 1 of the season. Then their backup tight end Jason Kroom left OTAs on Tuesday with the training staff, and we don't know what that injury is, but the fact that he left practice with the training staff usually means it's not great news. So if you've got a rookie draft coming up and you need a tight end, Knox probably slots in at a early to mid 3rd rounder, just based on the opportunity. I don't like him enough to take him in the 2nd round, but I'm sure some people do. I just wouldn't be able to do it. Andrew Luck for the Colts. If you need me to tell you that he's a quarterback, you probably should quit Dynasty right now. Apparently had a calf injury, but they don't think it's too serious. Cameron Brate, tight end for the Buccaneers, is supposed to be ready for training camp after his hip injury last season. At this point, he's pretty much a non-factor and just a touchdown gamble as long as Jameis Winston is the quarterback there, because when O.J. Howard is healthy, he's going to get all the targets. Another IDP news, Matt Milano, the Bills linebacker, is apparently recovered after his broken fibula last season. He's nothing special athletically, but he's a very instinctual and smart defender and could easily be relevant in IDP formats. I believe he's been relevant off and on throughout the last 2 years, depending on your number of starters. And Tremaine Edmonds doesn't really understand how to read plays yet, so Matt Milano can scoop up some easy tackles. Julian Edelman, wide receiver for the Patriots, got signed to a 2-year, $18 million extension through the year 2021. That would make him 35 when that contract expires. I think it's more likely that's just a hedge for when Tom Brady retires if he leaves after next season, so before the 2020 season. I don't know if Edelman will stick around another year or not, probably, due to the money, but I would find it pretty surprising if he can absorb all those hits by the time he's 35 years old. Zay Jones, receiver for the Bills, says he is bigger and stronger entering his 3rd season. He's now in a surprisingly crowded receiving core with John Brown and Cole Beasley added during the offseason, and I would much rather have Robert Foster than Zay Jones. If you could somehow capitalize the trade of Zay Jones for Robert Foster, I would do that immediately. That's all the news for today, guys. Sorry that there's not a player breakdown. I'll be more prepared in the future for when situations like this where I simply don't have the time arise. Your happy song of the day is Excuse Me by A$AP Rocky, and your football song of the day is Special by Future. And as always, those YouTube links are in the episode description. Thanks for taking the time out to listen to this podcast today. You've been listening to Dynasty 365, where the film will set you free.
So much trouble, it's not my fault. All this, I also lose my friends, I lost my baby that is looking crack. Only today want to change. He wanted it, so I couldn't try more like to feel. I'd kill the real, change your life in a second. The devil drinks coffee in my kitchen, I mentioned it in every song. I just wanted to go away. You decide to stay in the well. I want to be forgiven, I don't like this kid for money. Sorry I was scared, you're not the way it feels. Like to sleep waiting for someone to come in and kill you. The fun I did is stop now, I'm not a friend of anything. Go they gonna kill anyone I feel so powerful. They should buy you right when your skin up, everything is confusing. You will be good, but you will be more. You will be good, but you will be